everybody. This is Beth Shibley, and I am here bringing you another Caregiver Conversation program of Sunflower House and Aging Matters in Brevard. And I am joined today with Amy B. Van Fossen, who has a law office in Brevard County. And we're here today to talk about VA aid and attendance benefits program. So Amy, could you tell me a little bit about yourself? Good morning.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me. Good morning, everybody. Well, I'm originally from southeastern Ohio, so I was in the coal mining area, and I moved to Florida when I was a teenager, I guess. And so I've been around in Brevard County actually since 1988. Became a lawyer at about 39 years old, so I did everything a little backwards. I started college at 25. Dragging babies along, and then I started law school at 35. So I've done everything a little bit differently. So I think it allows me to interact with people on a different level. So I had other jobs prior to being an attorney, but my law firm, I was a stockbroker before I was an attorney, and I always wanted to do the estate planning piece. So we do lots of estate plans in the office. But I really love, my favorite thing that I do, I really do love the VA benefit program, the aid and attendance benefit. So working with the vets are my favorite things to do. We also do Medicaid, but I started doing the VA first. So we'll talk a little bit about both of the programs, I think, today, but mostly the VA, which was you asked me to talk about.
Cool.
Also, as an aside, my oldest daughter is an attorney in my law firm, so it's kind of fun getting to work with my daughter on a daily basis. So, but there's 4 attorneys here in total, so it's a great law firm. It's everyone was handpicked. I have super nice people that work for me, and hopefully that translates into taking really good care of our clients.
So important.
Yes.
You know,
we like our old folks, so we take care of lots of them.
You start with good people. If you start with good people,
Yeah.
Everything else falls into place. You know,
it does work, and it's funny. Somebody said I collect people, and everyone has a story. You know, we've all had a past, we've all had tragedies and success and all of that stuff. So we bring all of that to work on a daily basis, and we've gotten some great reviews because we do care about our clients. And again, if you hire people that aren't really in tune with seniors, I always had a hard time hiring people in their 20s because a lot of times they don't understand, you know, the nuances with working with older people. You need a little more patience and kindness and things like that, you know. So I always say I'm not hiring anybody under the age of 40, but I've now broken that rule several times because I've got some amazing younger folks working for us now too. But it's just a different area of law. I mean, we're definitely not criminal attorneys or trial attorneys where you see more of an aggressive kind of law style or work style. We're the helpers, you know, we're the helping kind of attorneys. We're helping guide families through the aging process. And I tell people, you maybe go through the aging process once or twice in a lifetime with your parents. I do it 20 times a week, right? If we have new families in all of the time, just holding their hand through the aging process. And whether it's getting some basic estate planning documents in place, which is super important, or on the other tail end of it, maybe trying to find some type of assisted living or skilled nursing facility and how we're going to pay for it and where do we find the money to pay for those things. So we do everything in between. But it is very much like when I tell people I'm an attorney, actually, when I'm out in public, I don't usually tell people I'm an attorney. I tell them I'm a secretary because I don't want to get hated on immediately. But when people do find out I'm an attorney, they're like, there's no way you're an attorney. And it's just because elder law and a lot of other folks that are in the elder law world, we're just, I think, a kinder, gentler kind of personality, right? Even though we went to law school, we're not going into court and screaming and yelling and throwing things. You know, we're definitely on the helping end, and I love it. It's, you know, I've had a few jobs in my lifetime, and I finally woke up one day and I thought I'm finally doing what I was meant to do. You know, and I love helping families, and we work really closely with the children as well as, you know, the parents, and sometimes the parents have a little trouble understanding some of the concepts. So when you do Medicaid or VA, I say it's a family decision because a lot of times we may be moving assets around, and I don't touch your money, but the kids may have to in order to qualify for some of these benefits. And I don't want one kid starting moving substantial amount of money around and the kid that's back north is like, oh my gosh, you stole, you know, 100 grand from mom or dad. So we try to include all of the family members as best that we can. Sometimes that's not possible, but it is a family decision. And I don't understand why the families don't have, or excuse me, haven't made a plan. I mean, what is the family plan? As your mom and dad can no longer live independently, safely at home, what is the family plan? And I don't know why that they can't have that conversation. You want to be buried next to, grandma back north or whatever, but what happens when mom and dad can't be safe in their homes together? Are you guys willing to look at having nurses coming into the home or caregivers coming into the home? Is mom going to move back to Chicago with you and your 800 square foot condo? There's just all kinds of questions that people just don't seem to answer. And there's great answers and great solutions in Brevard County. We have such a large elderly population that there are wonderful companies out there that will help you care for your parents if they want to remain in their home. And so whether it's, again, having a case manager come in and help bill pay, or having nurses come in to help with the medication stuff, or just caregiver, just sitting and watching TV with mom for a few hours a week so she's not so lonely, or looking at the adult daycares that are out there. So there's all kinds of solutions if you just find the right people and find the right companies, because there's some incredible companies out there that do care for seniors just like we do. And we partnership. We just refer. We don't make money off of any of those things, but we refer out to the best companies, the companies that we respect. And there's some great ones out there. But what is the plan? What is the plan? Is the plan to have a nurse come in? Well, great. You know how much that is for 24/7 care in a home? To have a caregiver come in, it's very, very expensive. Versus assisted living is expensive, but not nearly as expensive as a full-time caregiver in the home. And it's not always a great idea to say, oh, the guy at church needs a place to live and he's going to look in on mom. That's not always the best option. Sometimes it is, but you need to consider that. I had one family put like an 18-year-old granddaughter in grandma's house. Well, she was, she was out driving grandma's car at 2 a.m, and so there's something, sometimes on the face of it, it sounds great, but in reality, what is the plan? And it seems to be a very difficult question for people to answer. Both of my parents were funeral directors in Ohio, and my mother's also a teacher. And I'm always amazed that people don't talk about the end. What do you want? Do you want cremation? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be, buried back north? And those are, that was common dinner table conversation at my house, but other people have a very difficult time talking about that. People think their parents are going to live forever. They also think that every penny mom and dad has belongs to the children, and none of it should be spent on medical care, which kind of drives me crazy, because we all save for the rainy day. When the rainy day is here, let's have a better quality of life by hiring some of these companies to come in and help. And I'm ready right now to go to assisted living. There's some beautiful ones on the river in Brevard County. I went 3 meals a day and maid service. Like, why would you not want to go to assisted living? But a lot of people, just love being home. And I think as we get older, we get a little insecure about moving as well. I've had people move into assisted living and absolutely loved it. And I've had people that were miserable. So it's really important that you find the right property. It's not all about the money. And location is super important so the kids can visit. But there's a lot going into even just picking a property to move into. And is it independent versus assisted? And when the families answer those questions, then I can tell them which public benefit do we need to go look for, and do we need to be really, really proactive and say, okay, we've got a very large window, we've got great kids that are financially responsible, maybe we can start moving money around a little bit earlier, so that if later on there's a need for skilled nursing or assisted living, maybe we could qualify a lot easier for some of those programs. So there's two kinds of planning. One is proactive, where we have plenty of time, or maybe a year or two. Mom and dad's still doing really well, so we can make some really good decisions, get some great documents into place. And then there's crisis planning. So, for instance, maybe a mom broke a hip, she goes into skilled nursing for rehab, and they realize there's no way she can successfully go home safely, and that she needs to be a permanent resident of that skilled nursing. Well, your health insurance can cover, like 30 to 100 days, let's say. And parts and pieces of those days. And then you get to like a magic day of maybe 100, and they say, okay, now you're self-paying $300 a day. Well, what happens is people call me at day 99, and then we're in a crisis, because we know every day that we don't get our stuff together, there's the potential the family's going to have to pay for that care on a daily basis. your health insurance, even if you're a retired veteran, does not cover 100% of skilled nursing for the rest of your life. And a lot of people that have TRICARE for life, because we have the Air Force Base here in town, so we have a lot of veteran clients. I'm actually in Brevard County because my father-in-law was retired Air Force, and so that's why they were here. But a lot of people think that TRICARE for life covers everything for the rest of your life, and it does not. It gets you about 90 to 100 days usually in a skilled nursing, and then you're self-paying. You know, there's no magic property in Brevard County to take you to that will pay 100% of your care. So it doesn't matter how great your health insurance is. It doesn't matter if you've got TRICARE for life. If you don't have a long-term care policy, you are potentially going to pay out of pocket for all of this stuff.
Right.
So if you have a long-term care policy, and I don't see a ton of them, but if you do, keep it at all costs if it makes sense, because it usually covers up to about $3,000 a month, usually towards your care. So if you have Social Security and pensions of a couple of grand, and you got $3,000 on that long-term care, you could afford almost every assisted living property in Brevard County. So it's a great place to be, and I wish more people had it. Generally, government workers or people who retired from the government have long-term care policies because it was more economical for them. If you're self-employed like me, it's pretty expensive. But usually
Right.
you find like a retired teacher, retired cop. We've got a handful of firefighters from like New York City. They have it. And so it's a great policy to have. People ask me all the time, Mom is paying $100 a month for this policy. I don't think she needs it. I'm like, oh, that is nothing. You need to keep that.
Just wait.
Yeah, well, and you can have, by the way, I have a married client whose wife is well at home, and he's a veteran, and he has long-term care. So he's in a skilled nursing. It's about $9,000 a month. So his long-term care covers $3,000. The VA covers about $2,200. His Social Security, couple grand. I don't know if I mentioned that. So between long-term care, Social Security, and the VA benefit, he's still on Florida Medicaid to pick up the tab for the rest. So what my point being, even though I got confused on my numbers, is that you can have multiple programs kicking in for it. And someone was like, well, if you have long-term care, you'll never be on Medicaid. If your long-term care only covers $3,000 a month and skilled nursing is $8,000 to $10,000 a month, you're still, lacking in funds. And so
Right.
we have to get creative and figure out how to make that work and not make the wife broke as well, because she needed money to live on too. So there's a way to divert a little bit of that income back to her to live on. But that was definitely one of my trickier clients because Medicaid looks at long-term care as income, basically. So it's just kind of it's an interesting thing VA does too, both in certain circumstances, but it was a difficult conversation. Difficult case, but it's all, a lot of things are fixable. I had a client yesterday and she said, she kept saying, so the government's just going to take all my mom's money. I'm going to sell her house and take her money. And I'm like, you cannot do that. And at the end of an hour, I still couldn't get into her head that if you hire an attorney, there are legal ways to move money from mom and dad to the children or to whoever without being penalized on the Medicaid side. And all she really wanted me to say, sell mom's house, take her money and run. And I would never do it because that you just can't do it, But there are legal ways to sell mom's house and move that money into the children's name. But you have to do it spot on correctly so that you're not in the penalty stage. So.
Well, yeah, asset preservation, especially, I would say, especially if you're talking about a well spouse at home.
Yes.
My philosophy is it's with my mom and dad, my father passed away and my mom is still alive and well and living independently, but that's her money to spend. I said, leave us enough to bury you and spend the rest,
Absolutely. Or prepay for your burial and not worry about it,
Prepaid for the burial. So I said, you're not living large enough, Mom. Go ahead. Spend it.
Well, right. Exactly. And Medicaid has some amazing loopholes, one of which is to prepay for a burial, but it has to be irrevocable or it's a countable asset, VA, they had a major law change in 2018. And so what we used to be able to do by sheltering money and moving money around is not an option as much anymore. So it's a little bit trickier. So we seem to be a little bit busier on the Medicaid side. But Florida Medicaid is one of the most generous programs out there. And there's all kinds of loopholes, but you have to be willing to look at the loopholes, but it definitely is going to, there's going to be legal fees attached to it. And it's not, if you've got $200,000 or $300,000 to shelter, mom or dad have 200,000 or 300,000, how much are you willing to pay to shelter that? And I had a young man, mom had like 300 grand. She had a difficult estate, and he didn't want to pay the attorney. And he came back 12 months later after paying 120 grand for mom's medical care, and then he was willing to pay the legal fee, right? So it's general. I always say my legal fee usually is about a month worth of a skilled nursing. Sometimes it just depends on how difficult it is. Sometimes our older folks have 15 different bank accounts at 15 different banks at 15 different states even. And that's difficult, right? Because you always have to have the most recent bank statement. So if there's any early advice, I would say, is try to get your parents to consolidate, just pick a couple of banks and consolidate. And if you have a power of attorney, go ahead and have it registered with the bank. That saves a lot of time as well. Banks are getting really tight with the power of attorneys because there's so much fraud out there. And so they're scrutinizing those documents. And it could take a day or two for a bank to accept a power of attorney. So you can't just walk in with a power of attorney and withdraw 200 grand. They're going to say, no, we've got to send it to our legal department. But these are the kinds of things, like if we're in crisis Medicaid, we don't have 2 or 3 days for the banks to decide whether to take that power of attorney, right? So there's some early things that we can do, kind of, get you on task. And I'm sure you've had a whole nother, you could do a whole hour on nothing but the power of a durable power of attorney and how important it is in Florida, because Florida is very strict on the power of attorney laws. But when I get hired to do VA, I almost always do a brand new power of attorney because I'm so picky about them. There's all these new things called superpowers in there. And if you don't have the superpowers, you're not going to be able to do some of these high-end, I don't mean high-end, but very difficult maneuvers with the assets. So you have to initial that we could do, for instance, a qualified income trust on the Medicaid side, and just all kinds of other things. Set up burial savings accounts with payable on death back to the kid. Bank of America requires that to be initialed in a power of attorney. Just as an example, we learned that the hard way. So we've added lots of different things to our powers of attorney for that reason.
So let's talk about VA aid and attendance. So Amy, let's go ahead and have a conversation about VA aid and attendance.
Okay. Before we start, quick conversation about our practice areas, and then we'll jump into aid and attendance. Elder law is VA and Medicaid planning, basically. So we're an elder law firm. We do estate planning. We do a ton of probate. We can avoid probate with a good trust. We do a lot of guardianship now. We do case management, which is, I call us rent-a-daughters. So if you have clients that don't have children or good children to help manage things, we'll do that for you. We do litigation, and we've done a handful of silver divorces as well. So usually when you're talking about people in their 70s and 80s getting divorced, it's usually a silver divorce. And usually we do that for Medicaid or VA purposes. A basic overview of our estate package, and I won't bore you, we'll go fast. I love a good trust, so we do a lot of revocable living trusts. With the trust, you still do a will. It's a big misconception. Living will, healthcare surrogate, pre-need guardian, and durable power of attorney. Those 3 documents are the most important documents for any Florida resident. And then we deed houses all the time into trusts and things like that. We do a free workshop on estate planning, so if you want to learn more about those things, since I talked so fast through those. But we're here today to talk about the veterans benefit called aid and attendance. So it's not a well-known benefit. It's getting more popularity recently because attorneys have figured it out, I think. The VA offers many different types of benefits. We do not do VA disability. Not a lot of law firms do it. I'm not sure why it's so difficult, but it seems like the local VFW does a pretty good job with the disability. As we all know, there's, that TRICARE for life, health insurance, life insurance. There's some burial benefits as well. The funeral homes seem to know a lot of good stuff about the burials. I read it, or I highlighted, the DIC, dependent indemnity compensation, because if you are generally a female getting DIC, you are not going to be entitled to aid and attendance. And I'm being sexist, assuming that the service person was a man married to a woman. DIC is based on someone that was 100% VA disabled, passing away, and then their spouse would be entitled to DIC. It's about $1,300 a month-ish. My client yesterday wanted to get aid and attendance, but her mother was already getting DIC. So unless she's in skilled nursing, generally you can't double dip on that benefit. So at the very bottom, pension, it's divided into housebound and aid and attendance. Housebound is a smaller amount of money. So generally we just go right for aid and attendance. If you're going to hire an attorney, let's go for the bigger bucks and not mess with the housebound as much. Aid and attendance, is a special monthly pension. So the money is wired into the veteran or their spouse's bank account on a monthly basis. Usually by the third day of the month, they'll receive their money. It's a non-service connected benefit. So you do not have to have been injured during a time of war to get the benefit. In fact, if you're VA disabled, it will subtract from the amount of money you can get. So if you served in, let's say, Germany during the Korean War and you did not even get a paper clip, or paper cut, excuse me, you could still be entitled to the benefit. So again, it has nothing to do with being harmed while you're in the service. Available to a veteran or a surviving spouse or a dependent child. The dependent child, the money is pretty small on that when you have to, I believe, be disabled since birth. But I would say 50% of our VA clients that we're working on with aid and attendance benefit are females. So almost always the surviving spouse that we're working with. Why do we care about aid and attendance? So it is tax-free and can be used for a variety of purposes. The intent of this benefit is medical need. And if you don't have medical need, do not file for this because you're going to get denied. If you go out to the VA, they of course will do an application for you, but I see lots of denials because people really weren't either financially qualified or they didn't have the medical need. Of course, it can extend the financial resources to allow the veteran and or their spouse to continue their lifestyle. So again, if you want to age at home and you need some extra money to, to pay for caregivers or nurses or whatever, this money would be, you can use it for that. The money is supposed to be wired into the veteran's account to use as he pleases, right? There are companies out there that have it so the money goes to their nursing company and they spend it how they want. So just be cautious of that. I think it's the veteran's money to do whatever he wants. If he wants to hire, an extra maid and lawn service and some care in the home, it's his money to do whatever he wants to. Unlike Medicaid, aid and attendance is paid directly to the claimant and never will have to be paid back. So if there's no fraud, it's like a paycheck, right? Sometimes on the Medicaid side, if you shelter money and you pass away, you may have to pay Medicaid back some of the money. We see that in probate on occasion, that we'll get a probate that was not our client to begin with, and Florida Medicaid will make a claim on the probate estate. So some assets are protected and some are not. Your Florida homestead, at all costs, keep your homestead on your house because then it should be protected. All right, these are brand new numbers effective 2 or 3 days ago. So surviving spouse, 1244, these are monthly amounts. Single vet, 1936. Married vet and the veteran needs care, 2295. And then the fourth one is somewhere on the internet, it gets really confusing. If you are a vet and you are married and your spouse has medical needs, you still are entitled to aid and attendance, and it's $15.20 a month. I've had a lot of people come to my seminars saying, oh no, because the spouse needs care, there's no benefit. And I'm not sure what's floating out there on the internet, but we very often go after the spouse's benefit, which is the $15.20. Right now, the net worth limit is $130,773. We'll talk more about that in a couple of slides, not to get too confusing. The bottom says, just generally, veterans cannot receive both disability compensation and aid and attendance pension. So if you are a partially disabled vet, just to make the numbers easy, pretend a single vet gets $1,000 a month disability from the VA, not Social Security disability, but VA disability. If he gets $1,000 a month for a VA disability, he's still entitled to the $936 of aid and attendance. Okay, so if you're not 100% disabled, you subtract off dollar for dollar the amount of money that you are getting in disability from the numbers on this table and see, what you could possibly get. A lot of our World War II vets have hearing issues and they're 20 or 30% disabled, maybe get $300 or $400 a month for VA disability. We subtract that right from this number to see, what the benefit is available. And a lot of times 100% disabled veterans are getting way more than the $22.95 a month. So you always want to keep the higher value, of course. Sometimes when a vet is in a skilled nursing, they may contribute a little bit, but it's not this type of money. Okay, this benefit works really, really well if mom or dad live at home and want care in the home. or if you go into assisted living. At skilled nursing, if skilled nursing's 10 grand a month, you know, we still want this money, but it's not going to be enough to cover the whole thing. So we have to look at the other programs too. Why do I need an attorney? I had that question yesterday and I had a hard time explaining to this lady. There's a lot of other things you have to worry about. And she kept wanting me to say, yes, just take mom's money and run. And that's just not going to work. For number one, it's fraud and maybe a felony. I don't know. But you're going to be penalized for VA and Medicaid both. VA does a 3-year look back on asset transfers. Medicaid does a 5-year look back on asset transfers, unless we do it within the rules. You know, there are rules that allow us to transfer money, but if you don't follow the rules, you're going to penalize your parent. Because I used to be a stockbroker, you have to worry about, are there back-end sales commissions when you start moving money around? You know, if you bought an annuity, sometimes you have a 10-year penalty on those things if you try to move the money. And annuities are usually one of the higher commissioned things or sales financial products that you can sell, because I used to sell them. So you have to be cautious of buying any new annuities after you're a certain age. I'm VA accredited. My oldest daughter, Katie Stoltz, is also VA accredited. And we, you know, we have ethics we have to abide by. So be careful about who you hire to do the aid and attendance benefit. There are people with the word VA in their corporate title and they're not associated with the VA and they're not accredited. So if you're shopping for somebody to talk about the VA aid and attendance benefit, number one, make sure they're insured. Number two, make sure they are accredited with the VA. I think you can look it up online to see who the accreditation are. You'll see people, you know, outside some of the supermarkets saying they're working for a certain VA organization, and all they've done is set up a private company with the word veteran in the title. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're working with the government. So just be careful of who you're hiring to do these things. Never assumed you're not eligible either. So we can, within the rules, within the laws, move some money around, income around and things like that. So don't just say, oh gosh, mom's got 150 grand, she'll never get it. Don't say that. Maybe we just need to do a little pre-planning and spend down a little bit of the money to get the benefit. And maybe there's more drastic things we can do. If we have a 3-year time window, you know, we could potentially move money into some type of trust. Facts about aid and attendance. So roughly 1/3 of assisted living or skilled nursing clients would qualify for aid and attendance. Most people do not know about the benefit or how to obtain it. I've been doing seminars for years on aid and attendance, and prior to COVID, probably once a week I was talking somewhere about aid and attendance. And people still come to me and say, we've never heard the benefit, you know, heard about it. And I'm like, well, that's why we're out talking about it all the time. Our seminars are not sales pitches, they're just education to tell you who's entitled to it. And this is basically the presentation we're doing right now, is basically the seminar that I do on a regular basis. Excuse me, with COVID, we've been doing more of the Zoom type seminars, but I like being in front of people because you just can't really get a feel for what the questions they have and things like that. People are intimidated by the electronics sometimes. The VA, really important, VA offers more flexibility with long-term care options. VA is cash. You can use that cash for anything you want. Do you want to pay your kid to take care of you? Do you want to pay your daughter who lives next door to come over and help you with medication administration and things like that? You can do that with the VA. You want to go to a fancy assisted living, you can do that as well. So to me, I love the VA because the money goes directly to the veteran or their spouse to do what they want. Medicaid money goes directly to the facility. So on the Medicaid benefit, the clients don't get to touch the money. It just gets paid directly to whether it's the nursing service or the skilled nursing or assisted living. So again, I like the flexibility of the aid and attendance benefit. And you can get both of the benefits at the same time. All right, requirements for aid and attendance. I always say there's really 4 big things, but 90 days of consecutive active duty, honorable discharge, of course, medical need, meet the asset test and income test, which we have more slides on those 2 things. So I always, when people get really bogged down with how difficult it is to apply for the benefit, I'm like, there's 4 things: dates of service, medical need, assets, and income. And assets and income is where we can maneuver some things around from time to time. The dates of service, these are concrete. There's no way around these. There's a really slim loophole in the mid-70s. If you were an abused spouse with a police report, you could potentially say, okay, I've gotten divorced and therefore still get my ex-spouse's benefit. But the serviceman has to have served during one of these times. I had a lovely older gentleman wrote me a very long letter saying, why would you post World War I dates? All of the World War I vets have passed away. And my comeback was, well, they could have married a 20-year-old right before they passed away, and she's still alive. So she would get his benefit. So we still post the World War I numbers or dates, excuse me. The only time you have to have what's called boots on the ground is February 20th, 1961 through August 5th, 1964. And that means you actually physically had to be in Vietnam or on certain boats. All of the other periods of time, you could have served anywhere. I had a World War II vet who just recently passed away. He was receiving the benefit for 6 or 7 years. He never left the state of Texas during World War II, and he still received the benefit. So again, it's not where you served, and it's also not where you live for the benefit. You can live at home and get the benefit, or assisted or skilled nursing. So those are the biggest things. When I was talking about the divorce, to loop back around, if you were married to a serviceman and you divorced him, you are no longer entitled to this particular VA benefit. Okay, period. I don't care if you were married to them during the conflict or not during the conflict. It's just a hardline rule, except for this very narrow exception in the 70s. I did have a lovely lady that was married to 4 different men, and they all served during World War II, so she was entitled to the benefit. However, I had to have all 4 death certificates and all 4 marriage certificates to prove she was married. So when her last husband passed away, she did not remarry. He was a veteran, and she was entitled to his benefit. So again, if you're married to a veteran and you divorce him, or he passes away and you remarry and he's not a veteran, you're not getting this benefit. Big question in my seminars. It's hysterical, but I'm like, no, if you're going to divorce a veteran, you need to marry another veteran. That's how it is. We're going to do a VAmatch.com. I think we're going to get these people hooked up together. So, all right, dates of service. These are posted pretty much anywhere. But again, you do not have to serve in country. Biggest takeaway on that slide. The medical requirement: 65 or older or permanently and totally disabled. A person must need assistance with at least 2 activities of daily living. So bathing or showering, dressing, eating, transferring, toileting, ambulating within your home or living room. And the brand new one is doctor certifies claimant's need for a protective environment. So that's kind of a catch-all for all of us, right? So I kind of think I need a protected environment sometimes too. The medical requirement, it's not a hard line, but I kind of think if you're still driving around, maybe you're not quite medically ready. But maybe you are. I mean, I always kind of gauge it. If a client drives himself into my office, I'm like, okay, let's do some pre-planning. Maybe medically we're not quite there yet, but let's go ahead and get all of our legal documents in place. And I scan in all their military records and things like that. And then if there's a medical need, the kids can call me or he can call me and we can go through with the application. So anyway, driving is not a requirement, but it's just kind of a guide for me. If you're still driving to my office, we may have to, at least question the medical side. Your doctor, it does not have to be a VA doctor, but if you have one, that's fine. But your doctor will have to a physician must provide a diagnosis supporting the scope of care and corresponding expenses. Excuse me. We don't doctor shop. I'm not a personal injury attorney. So I want you to go to your family doctor, or whoever your regular doctor is, and have them fill out the form. If they do a crappy job, I may send you back to your doctor because we want them to tell the truth. And if you're one of those typical guys who's so afraid of losing your driver's license and you're kind of macho, don't go lie, don't say, I am just fine. I don't know why my daughter sent me here, If the doctor says he really does need supervision when he's taking a shower because we're afraid he's going to slip and fall, or he, whatever the case may be. I'm not sending you to get your license taken away. Don't lie to the doctor. And so many of my men do that, and I have to send them back with their tail between their legs saying, okay, go fix that, We have a couple of doctors in town that do a great job with this, and there's a couple who just don't want to spend the time doing it. So the only time we would tell you to find a different doctor's is maybe you're not getting the care you needed anyway. If they don't want to take the 5 minutes it takes to fill out this form, maybe need a different doctor anyway. All right, this is where things get confusing, so forgive me. But there's what?
I said, that's okay, we'll hang in there.
Okay, good. So the numbers just changed a couple of days ago. Of one of I always say the 4 prongs of aid and attendance, one of it is assets. So some of my clients don't understand the difference between what their income is and what their assets are. So the income is the money that you get on a monthly basis. So your Social Security, your pensions, whatever else that might be. Your assets are sort of like what you have in the bank. So luckily for us in Florida, Florida Medicaid does not look at the value of your homesteaded house, nor does VA. So we have some similarities in the two programs. As long as your house is worth less than like 600-ish, they're not going to look at it for Medicaid side. So for VA side, this is the brand new law, and it's just so convoluted to me, but your net worth has to be less than 130,773 with some caveats. We do not count the value of your house, and we do not count the value of your car. So you can be living beachside, driving a Lexus. It's okay, right? Attorneys can assist in transfers under the law through VA approved means. Not as many exceptions as we used to have. If I have a 3-year window, I can do what I call a VA irrevocable trust and move excess assets into it. As long as you don't need to apply within 3 years, all of that money would be protected from the VA. If it lasted 5 years, then it would also be protected from Medicaid. So I love proactive planning, but a lot of people aren't willing to give up control of their money to their children that early, right? So it's, my best friend was an only child, and she was an accountant, and she was very responsible with money. And I convinced her parents to move money, excuse me, and they had the 5-year window. So it worked out perfect for them. And a net worth calculation, it just gets harder and harder because they're getting more difficult with this stupid benefit, with the stupid asset rule that they have. So they add in, let me go back, sorry. They're going to add into the 130,773 includes all of your assets and your monthly income. So if your annual income, sorry. So if your annual income is 30 grand, you can't have too much over 100 grand. So they add all of your assets together in your annual income. It's silly, but they also subtract out the medical side. So your net worth is your covered assets, and plus 1 year's income for VA purposes. So covered assets are things that are not your house and not your car. So for VA purposes, it's your IRAs. It's your savings account, it's your checking account, it could be a burial account. There's other things that were included. Annuities sometimes are included too. So whenever we get a new client, we look at every single statement and usually 3 months worth of statements to see if there's anything weird going on. But they do unfortunately count your monthly income into your total count, or your annual income, sorry. I'm confusing you because it's confusing.
Okay.
The rule is on a monthly basis, when you get to the income test, which might make more sense, is we need to prove to the VA that you are spending 100% of your income on medical needs. So your medical needs could be paying one of your kids to take care of you. It could be paying a nurse to come take care of you. It could be an assisted living. There's lots of different things that include the medical expense. So on the income prong, I said, okay, you've got 3 grand a month of income, your assisted living is $3,500 a month, then guess what? You do not have an income problem because every month you're dipping into your savings account to cover the cost of your medical care. And that's what the VA is looking for. So we need a negative number. So the income for VA purposes, they call them IVAPs, but basically to make it a lot easier, it just has to be more than your monthly income. So the only way to get rid of income and to fix that prong are medical expenses. So the VA has a long list of expenses that they will allow. Excuse me. So health insurance premiums, long-term care insurance premiums. Just because you have long-term care doesn't mean you have to enact it, right? You can still get the VA benefit and hold that long-term care aside because maybe it has only a 2-year window of caring for you, and maybe you think, mom and dad are going to live 5 or 6 years. We're going to use the long-term care later rather than earlier. Cost of home care, so you've got a nurse coming in to take care of you. Assisted living facilities, rent is 100% medical expense. The personal care contract, we do a lot of these, and this is where we're saying that the kids are taking care of mom or dad, and they are all the time anyway. A lot of times, I'll have a client come in. I had a client yesterday come in. She'd been caring for her mother for 3 years in her home and never applied for this benefit. I'm like, you just lost, $40,000 because the VA would have paid, the surviving spouse amount, $1,200, $1,300 a month. So personal care contracts, again, is where you're living anywhere, but you have one of the kids taking care of you, or a friend. It doesn't have to be a child, but normally it is. And medical equipment and supplies. So again, of the 4 prongs, income is one of the harder ones to fix on the VA side, but we do it by showing the VA that we have medical expenses. So I have a case study. This is a single veteran with no dependents. call him John Doe, lives in an assisted living facility. So it's going to be an easier application because he's in assisted. He has one bank account with 110 grand and countable income of $30,000. So the new rules would say that the gentleman has $140,000, which would put him over the asset limit. However, because he has unreimbursed medical expenses, which are his assisted living rent, of the $40,000, it would wipe out the $30,000 of countable income only. It's the only place that number can go away. And he's back down to 110, so he is eligible for the full benefit. Okay. So again, we're subtracting off the medical expense to come up with the magic numbers. The second case study is a married veteran. Ralph Rich is living at home with a spouse. So again, you can live at home and get aid and attendance. They have 100 grand in assets and an annual income of 42. So back again, he's up to 142, which is too high of a number. However, in this case, they pay their daughter 40,000 a year to cover or to take care of them, as well as 5,000 in insurance. So it wipes out the 42,000 of income back down to the 100,000. He would get the full benefit, and the benefit of 2295. Oh, I guess that is the effective December 1st. Okay. Good. I was thinking that number was too low. So again, we've got two examples. The first case study, he's single. Doesn't matter where the income's coming from, by the way. You can be a retired veteran and still get this benefit because your retirement comes from the Department of Defense. So the first one's living in assisted living. The second one's living at home, still eligible for the benefit. So the application and required documentation, it's the VA. So they want everything under the sun. So your DD-214 or discharge certificate, birth certificate, marriage certificate. If you've been married 3 or 4 times, we need all of those marriage certificates, all of those divorce decrees. It's a headache, especially if you have a parent that's like mid-stage dementia, doesn't remember all his wives. That's happened to us before, and the kids didn't know where dad had gotten married. So it was an interesting application. Death certificates as well. And proper documentation from your doctor. Again, he's got to do a good job on the form saying that you need assistance. And verification of assets and income. It takes us a while to verify the assets and income, a lot of times because there's multiple bank accounts and maybe some's online and they don't know how to access it, or the kids can't get into your computer or whatever. Make sure you write down your passwords and give them to a trusted person so we can get access to this stuff. Generally, when we fill out the application and send it off to the VA, the time frame is usually 6 to 9 months. Well, now with COVID, now with everything, it's probably 6 to 9 months still. It could be a little bit longer, but it's retroactive. So if pretend we get the application in late December, everything's based on the first day of the month after they receive the benefit. So let's pretend they get the application December 29th. The effective date would be January 1st. If it takes 6 months to get the benefit and you're married, your first check's about $13,000. So it's retroactive as long as everything goes through. So it just depends on how long it takes to get the benefit in there. There was a huge VA rule change, October 2018. We talked about it, where I used to be able to do a VA trust and immediately move money and immediately get the benefit. Now we've got a 3-year window. Sometimes we also will put a house in a VA trust in order to sell it without penalty. So those are the kinds of techniques we would have to really take a good look at each family, see how they feel about that stuff. Why is it important to start planning now? The sooner we start, the sooner we can get you qualified. If VA does a 3-year look back, Medicaid does a 5-year look back, don't wait until the last minute. Don't wait until mom or dad are in skilled nursing, because we really are limited to what we can do at that point. But we still have things we can do. It's just a lot harder and maybe more expensive to do these things. I think to start early, also, what is your family plan? How can we support your healthcare options and choices? Is it to stay home again? Is it to go to assisted living, or what is it? I have one friend that's a nurse, and she wants to have her girlfriends move in with her eventually and have like just a bunch of old ladies in a house and with a really cute butler, I think was her idea. So what was that old TV show with the ladies living together?
Oh, Golden Girls.
Golden Girls. Yeah, she wants to do the Golden Girls. I'll probably sign up for that.
Pool boy, I'd be okay with either.
A cook, a maid, and a pool boy is still going to be cheaper than if all 4 went to assisted living. So
probably.
And they can do cruises. I mean, like I said, I'm going to sign up for that plan, I think. just remember that sometimes there's other planning needs that need to be addressed, not just VA. So people will come in for just the VA, and I'm like, we really need to consider the Medicaid piece, because if you end up in skilled nursing at 8 to 10 grand a month, the VA is not going to cover all of it. And so there's other things to look at. You can't look at people just as this one little bubble. And I had another client in yesterday got denied the VA benefit because the VA did the application for her, but her mother was already receiving DIC, and usually you can't double dip on that, as well as she had no medical expenses. So she just wanted me to fix it, and I'm like, I can't fix the DIC part. I can fix some things, but she just wasn't willing to understand that this stuff is really complicated. You know, it takes a lot of maneuvering around. A lot of times too, if you're sitting with these annuities, you've got to worry about the taxation and the back end sales charges on these things. If you have a CD, sometimes the bank will charge you if we have to break it early. So if your mom or dad are almost ready to go into an assisted living or skilled nursing, don't buy a 5-year CD, because we may have to move the money, and there's going to be a penalty, and it's not a ton of money, but those are the kinds of things that when people come in to see me, I'm like, please just freeze all your money ideas. You know, don't go invest in anything. Don't give any grandkids any money. Don't, you know, pay off your daughter's house or whatever. Just, can you just give us a month to take a look at it? And then we can possibly, you know, give your daughter some money so she can pay off her house, but let me do it through legal means, without causing a big penalty. Some things are fixable and some things are not fixable. A lot of times we'll get families that have done all kinds of creative accountings and want me to do the VA or Medicaid app, and we've got to go back and fix all that stuff. And they do a 5-year look back, you know. So I had to have a daughter pay back a substantial amount of money because she had mom pay off her house. So she had to remortgage her house, pay mom back. Then I legally was able to give it back to the daughter the next day, but we had to have the paper trail of the payback. So just don't do any crazy asset transfers. Do not think you can just give all your money away and walk into a nursing home and the government's going to pay for it tomorrow. That's not how it works. So be cautious of all those things. I see it all. I don't think there's anything I haven't seen at this stage of my career. Here's the dangers of simply giving away assets without careful planning. So there could be tax consequences. Generally, the giver of a gift has to pay the tax on it. So if there was any taxes owed, the giver of the gift always pays the tax, not the recipient. You could give away assets to a person and later gets divorced. So let's say you give all of your money to your oldest son, he commingles it with his wife, she divorces him, and she walks away with half of your money. So I see it all day long. This happens on a regular basis. I always have a hard time giving kids money if they are married, without some caveats and some strong talking too, you know. Make sure you put it in an account with just your name on it, not your spouse's name, and these kinds of things. You may give away too much money. So, you know, the VA says you can have the 130 grandish. You don't need to give away any more than that. My attitude is always the money is for the parent until he passes away, then the kids can inherit everything that's left. But until mom or dad have passed away, they need their money for their medical care. I don't want them not getting the appropriate medical care because they've given too much money away. And that's sort of one of my pet peeves in my office. You also may fail to consider the best planning options. So again, I had the kid that wants to sell the house, split the money 3 ways and run, and that's not going to be the best for mom. Mom's going to end up, you know, I'm not sure where their mother will end up, but it's not going to be a pretty situation, right? She's got equity in a home where she can use it, and maybe she wants the beautiful assisted living on the river, and maybe she wants to take the equity out of her house and go to the beautiful assisted living on the river, right? And 3 meals a day and bingo, and they go to Publix and Winn-Dixie. I mean, maybe that's their choice, and that's where I get a little crosswise with the kids too. And number 5 is I'd say it jokingly, but I don't trust the kids, but I don't trust a lot of the kids on occasion. We see some kids that clearly have already been using mom or dad's checkbook as their own personal checking accounts, and there's all kinds of headaches there. I had a lady whose husband died after many, many years, had a beautiful house, and the oldest son flies in for the funeral, and attorneys are bad and probate's expensive. I'm going to put my name on the house so that we don't have to go through probate. Then he promptly mortgaged it up to the hilt and refused to make the mortgage payments. So mom ended.
Stop. Stop. Ear. I'm not hearing you. $9:57. I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
I can't hear
The
you.
guys are pounding, so I've got this on mute for me. But I did stop hearing you when you started talking about personal checking, that people were using their parents as personal checking accounts.
Okay, so we'll go back to that.
Go back to that spot. Like I said, I've got the guys are pounding, so.
Okay. All right. So I joke about I don't trust the kids, but I have had several cases where the children were using their parents' checkbook as their own personal checking account. So I just get really cautious of children taking mom and dad's money. Elder fraud is pretty huge in Brevard County, and it seems to be almost always the kids are taking advantage of mom or dad financially, but also some other things have happened as well. So just be really cautious about the kids. And I know that sometimes older women have always, like their husbands may have managed their money their whole lives. And then their oldest son wants to come in and help manage things for them. It can be a little dicey. You know, I had a son put his name on mom's deed after dad passed away many years. And he mortgaged it to the hilt, refused to make mortgage payments. Mom was foreclosed on, and mom became homeless at 86 years old. So we had to find some creative housing for her. So there's a lot of wonderful kids out there doing wonderful things, and there are some that are a little bit scary. So just be cautious of giving away all of your money to your kids before it's time. Your money is for your medical care until you pass away. The kids can inherit everything. I get asked all the time, the state's going to take all of mom's money. The government's going to take all of mom's money. Well, in Florida, that's not true. The homesteaded house is protected. I'm from Ohio. It's not really protected there as much as it is here. You can have a house worth a little bit over 600 grand in Florida, and it's still protected. So don't think the government's going to take your money, but you do need to do planning. And whether you hire me or another attorney, talk with an elder law attorney that does a lot of Medicaid and a lot of VA like we do, that really understands the rules and how we can flip back and forth between the two benefits to see what is best for your parent. I always say maybe we start with VA because mom or dad are going into assisted living or hiring nurses into their home. And then there's a medical crisis 6 months later and we have to flip it into a Medicaid case. And that's okay. We have the ability to flip and flop back in between the two programs because we know the rules on both programs and how to work around them. If you want more information, we do seminars at our office. Hopefully 2021, we'll be doing a lot more in-person seminars. You can call our office. I'm sure you have my number. It's 321-345-5945, and we have a pretty active website. What other questions do you have?
You know, I think, you know, I just wanted to make sure people realize that it isn't about where you served, it's when you served.
Right. It's all about the dates.
And you are talking about benefits that it's an entitlement. If you've served, that people should feel like if they qualify for it, they should seek to get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, this benefit, you served our country or your husband's spouse served our country, you're absolutely entitled to this benefit. That's why I love it. You served our country during a time of need, and therefore now we need to give something back to you in your older age. So,
Yeah.
I mean, think of the four big prongs: dates of service, medical need, assets, and income. Attorneys can deal with the assets and the income. I can't fix the dates of service or concrete. There's nothing we can do about medical need. We can be proactive. If you're not medically ready today, let me, while you still are of sound mind, start looking at these things so we can have intelligent conversations while you still understand what we're talking about. You know, if you've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, you need to go run to your nearest elder law attorney so that we can get all of the foundation documents in place and start talking about where are you going to go if you're no longer safe in your home. And I would love to have that conversation when people still have the capacity to understand what we're talking about. Okay.
And to be able to have agency and be part of that decision making while everyone is still capable. And that really does help the family as well, because then you understand where the family has that knowledge of what mom and dad wants. And
Exactly.
it isn't always about, it is often about, dementia and capacity, but it's, there's all kinds of reasons why it's great to have these conversations up front before it's a crisis. And to have the family involved. And what she was saying before, I think we don't do really well in this culture dealing with this third of our lives. It's so youth-oriented that we just do the ostrich form of planning, that we're just going to stick our heads in the sand and it'll all go away. And then you're right, mom and dad are going to live forever. We're not going to have to deal with it. And then we wind up standing at your doorstep.
Right.
2 weeks after mom broke her hip.
Well, absolutely. And I got to tell you, the hardest cases for us are second or third marriages. Right. Because what are you going to do if maybe maybe your mother passed away and your dad remarried, and now his new wife has medical needs? Do you want your inheritance to go to pay stepmom's medical needs? And maybe they've been married 40 years and it's a second marriage, There's the second marriages cause us a lot of heartache. And we've had it where, dad and stepmother were living pretty successfully together, but they both had medical needs and the kids just had to separate them. And it was really kind of sad because they'd been married like 35 years. Again, it was a second marriage situation. And it just didn't work out. And it was really sad because they were very happily living together. They just weren't safe being home alone anymore. So, and the kids' idea was, I'm taking one to Ohio and one to Michigan. And it's like, well, okay, they'll never see each other again. So I had another great situation where a long lost girlfriend, thanks to Facebook, a guy found his long lost girlfriend after his wife passed, and he moved her here from another state. And she didn't have a lot of money, but we were able to find an assisted living for him. And with her meager income could pay the second person in the assisted living room. And so they made it work out, and the family did pay a little bit of extra money to help care for her, but it was really important to him. And they listened to their dad. It was their dad's money, and their dad wanted to support this long lost love. So everyone's different. Every family is different. And I always also tell people, it's not my job to judge you. My job is to tell you how to fix whatever it is. If your idea is you want to be in the beautiful assisted living on the river, then let's try to figure that out. If you want to stay home and have a kid take care of you, let's figure it out. But I think that's where people just stop listening to their parents, and they get busy with their own families or whatever, and they just tell mom or dad, okay, no, you're going to go do this, it's easier. I had a family that mom had fallen and broken a hip, and they said, it's time for you to move back north. They moved her back to the DC area, and I talk to her once a month, and she's miserable. She misses her condo in Florida, she misses her friends, and it's the family thought that it'd be better for her to be with family. Well, your family has soccer 7 nights a week,
Yeah, working all day and not,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so they're sitting home by themselves. Yeah, I've heard of that situation more times than I can count.
Right.
And I do think that it's, the upshot of it here, I think the takeaway to a large extent, in addition to all this really great information, is, pre-plan.
Yeah.
Think about this before, since you have your ducks in a row,
Right.
so that we've got these things. So I thank you so very much today, Amy. This has been
Well, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
And appreciate it. And we've got your information, and people can always get a hold of either Amy at her law firm, or you can get a hold of me at Sunflower House. I'm Beth Shibley, and this has been another Caregiver Conversation. And I thank you so much.
Thanks. Happy holidays.